Three stories. Two are completely false. One is 100% real. Can you guess which one is true?
Be careful. Some of these stories sound incredibly convincing, Shu, but science will prove them wrong.
Hey everyone, welcome to True or Trick, the show where we test your instincts and challenge what you think you know. I'm Julian, and this is Riley, and today we've got three unbelievable stories for you.
Will you be able to separate fact from fiction? Stick around until the end to see if you guessed right. In 2016, a 7-year-old girl named Emily Hartwell from Western Massachusetts started drawing eerie pictures. Her parents thought nothing of it at first, just childish scribbles. But the drawings grew darker. A man with a deep scar on his cheek, a farmhouse in flames, a shovel dripping red, a small body under wooden floorboards. When her parents asked where these ideas were coming from, Emily simply said, "I remember, but it wasn't me." One weekend, during a family hike in a nearby forest preserve, Emily insisted she knew the trail. She led them off the main path to a spot where the remnants of an old farmhouse lay buried under moss and brush. She pointed to a specific area beneath the floorboards and whispered, "That's where he put him." Later, driven by equal parts fear and curiosity, Emily's father reported the experience to a local historian. Shockingly, the location matched a long-abandoned homestead once owned by a man who mysteriously vanished in 1934. His name was never found, only local rumors of a murder, never confirmed. A year later, during a university-led excavation of the site, human remains were found wrapped in aged fabric and buried exactly where Emily had pointed. Dental records were inconclusive, but it was estimated to be from the early 20th century. Emily never drew anything like that again.
In 1983, Valentina Kulikova, a middle school literature teacher in Pripyat, USSR, began keeping a personal journal. She wrote about daily routines, students, recipes, but in between the mundane pages, something disturbing appeared. A dated entry read, "I dream of fire in the distance, red clouds, men coughing, children screaming, the trees burn invisible, the water is poison, but no one runs." 2 years later, on April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear reactor exploded, just miles from her home. Valentina survived the initial evacuation, but died of cancer 3 years later, along with many others from radiation exposure. Her diary was found by her niece in 2004 during a cleanup of family belongings. It was later published by a local journalist covering post-Soviet archives. Skeptics claim the entries were added after the fact, but handwriting experts examined the ink and page consistency and found no signs of forgery. Multiple entries from 1983 reference the visions in vague but eerily accurate ways. The river will carry death, and the air will hum. Was it coincidence, a subconscious warning, or something more?
In 2009, Peruvian guides working with a European travel group told a strange story to local reporters. One of the tourists, a quiet man in his 40s named Michael G., kept talking about a city that no one had ever heard of. He claimed he'd seen it in his dreams: massive stone terraces, a disc-shaped altar at the center, stairs carved into cliffs, and carvings of jaguar-headed gods. The guides laughed it off at first until the man stopped mid-hike and stared into the trees. "It's here," he said, "buried under centuries." They moved on. But 2 years later, in 2011, a team of archaeologists funded by the National University of San Marcos uncovered an undocumented site in the Amazon basin with features uncannily similar to what Michael G. had described. The guides tried to contact him, but there was a problem. The tour company had no records of anyone by that name, no passport, no email, no payment history, nothing. All they had was a notebook he had left behind, filled with sketches, and one sentence on the last page: "You don't find it, it finds you."
So, which one do you think is true? Drop your guess in the comments before I reveal the answer.
Three people, three unbelievable stories. Only one of them is grounded in historical truth. So, which one did you choose? Story number 1, Trick, the child who solved an 80-year-old murder. This story is fiction. While there are plenty of stories about children with eerie knowledge, there are no verified cases of a child leading authorities to an actual cold case body through past life memories. Creepy? Definitely. True? Nope. Story number 2. True, the woman who predicted Chernobyl in her diary. This one is real. Valentina Kulikova's diary has been studied, and her 1983 entries eerily reference a disaster almost identical to the 1986 Chernobyl explosion. Her writings were published posthumously, and although skeptics still argue over it, the original journal and handwriting have never been proven fake. Story number 3, Trick, the tourist who described a lost city. Great mystery, but this one's made up. There was no man named Michael G. and no dream-led expedition into the Amazon. While lost cities are still discovered, no known site was predicted by an anonymous dreamer. The host leans back with a smile. So did you fall for the fiction, or did you spot the truth hidden in plain sight? Comment your guess below and tell us which story you wanted to believe was real. Don't forget to subscribe for the next episode of Truth or Trick. And that's it for today's episode. 3 unbelievable stories. 2 were completely made up, and 1 was 100% real. Did you guess correctly? Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, and other times a well-told lie can sound incredibly convincing, but that's why we're here, to challenge your instincts, test your logic, and keep you on your toes. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe for more mind-bending stories, and let us know in the comments which story fooled you the most. See you next time for another round of True or Trick. Until then, stay curious,